at Feminist Frequency, we are constantly being accused of being killjoys who just want to make sure no one enjoys anything ever. Video games, movies, TV, music, social media, mayonnaise. Well, that's mostly Ebony's thing. I actually really like mayonnaise. But the truth is, we love those things just as much as you do, even the cheesy stuff. Carolyn would rather die than share how much anime is in her Netflix watch list. And Ebony's #1 karaoke jam is Total Eclipse of the Heart. And as for me, well, I've been maintaining the internet's most popular Dirty Dancing live journal account since 2011.
But despite being the card-carrying pop culture weirdos that we are, we're nevertheless very serious about the mission of Feminist Frequency, which is helping to educate folks about the power and importance of bringing a critical awareness to the films, TV, music, ads, literature, and news we engage with each day. What is media literacy? And why should you care? I'm glad you asked. According to the Center for Media Literacy, it provides a framework to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and participate with messages in a variety of forms, from print to video to the internet. Media literacy builds an understanding of the role of media in society, as well as essential skills of inquiry and self-expression necessary for citizens of a democracy.
It's important to realize that every piece of media is created by human beings. And so, by its very nature, every piece of media carries with it a complex array of assumptions, biases, and values in the same way that we as humans do. Nothing just happens, and no piece of media, whether it's a young adult book series or a fast food commercial, is free from the guiding logic at work in our society. Now, we're not saying that all art is bold print propaganda, although some of it definitely is, but we are saying that media functions to communicate messages to its audience in all kinds of ways. Sometimes those messages about race, gender, class, sexuality, and so on may not be apparent even to the creators themselves. They may even run counter to beliefs that the creators themselves espouse. But the fact that those messages may not be intentional doesn't make them any less effective.
And if you want to uncover what exactly your media is trying to tell you, it's crucial that you ask yourself those basic questions. Becoming literate in the general sense, i.e. learning to read, means learning to decipher symbols and signs to form meaning. Likewise, becoming media literate means learning how to decipher what the signs, symbols, and language of our media means.
When examining a piece of media, ask yourself questions like, what is this? Who created it? Who was it created for? Why was it created? These questions might sound pretty simplistic, but they open up a world of issues to consider. Take the first question. What is this? Whoa! Okay, no, seriously, what is this? Holy shit, is this an ad for a shake? What the?
You know what? Let's start with something a little less likely to send Anita into cardiac arrest. Here's another ad.
Oh my god, I don't know which is worse.
Deep breaths, Anita. Now, these are images from a 2011 ad campaign for milk. You'd be forgiven for thinking it was an ad for a 1950s era sitcom, but it's not. When we start by asking, what is this? We can immediately identify it as an advertisement. And so, what we know about advertisements informs how we understand this image. For instance, ads, whether they're TV commercials, print advertisements, online pop-ups, or whatever, have a very limited amount of time to grab your attention and attempt to persuade you to make a purchase. They have to be visually impactful, and any text or speech must be equally impactful. Ads, perhaps more than any other kind of media, need to be able to quickly communicate in a shared shorthand or trope to get their point across. And the shorthand being employed in these ads for milk is basically, we all get it, right? Men are long-suffering nice guys because women are irrational.
Yeah, and let's not ignore the real kicker. Take a look at that tagline, milk can help reduce the symptoms of PMS. Which leads us to the next couple of questions. Who created this and for whom? I would bet all of the bitcoins floating around the dark web that the creative team that high-fived themselves over this piece of genius was mostly men. Women can carry a ton of internalized misogyny, no doubt, but for some reason, I just can't imagine a bunch of female executives at the California Milk Processor Board deciding that Tariq, Kevin, and Chad up there were the best spokespeople to persuade us that a big glass of milk has pain-relieving properties during a person's menstrual cycle, especially if the ad is directed at women. How do we know the ad is directed at women? Well, we can make a reasonable guess given certain facts. The bulk of household buying, including things like groceries, is still done by women, and the overall message is about PMS, a health issue that affects a huge number of people, especially cis women.
Which leads us to our final question. Why was this created? The answer here is twofold. Obviously, this ad is designed to sell more milk, and since this ad is put out by a dairy council, they're not even concerned with selling a particular brand of milk. Any milk will do. But the secondary effect of this ad is to uphold an antiquated notion of gender and gender dynamics, because by doing so, it's easier to sell products to us. People who can be persuaded that they need fixing are much easier to sell to.
The importance of casting a critical eye over our media can't be overstated. Listen, we know, sometimes you just want to watch a game and drink a beer, right? We all want to turn our brains off sometimes and just fall asleep in a pile of mashed potatoes. But the fact is, the more you engage with media uncritically, the more susceptible you become to its more insidious aspects. Sure, you might just want to chillax with your fam and watch the Super Bowl, but do you ever ask yourself why there's so many commercials for the U.S. Army during sports broadcasts? Because the gridiron has become a marketplace to sell viewers a very specific kind of patriotism that's being sold right alongside pickup trucks and KFC. According to a recent article by Think Progress concerning the controversy surrounding Colin Kaepernick's refusal to stand for the national anthem,
as recently as 2015, the Department of Defense was doling out millions to the NFL for such things as military flyovers, flag unfurlings, emotional color guard ceremonies, enlistment campaigns, and, interestingly enough, national anthem performances.
And what about Marvel's planned partnership with Northrop Grumman, the 5th largest defense contractor in the world? That's right, Marvel, the media powerhouse behind all your favorite superheroes, like Captain America, Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Iron Man. Before that deal was quashed, a comic was produced that teamed up the Avengers with a crew of Northrop Grumman contractors.
If you take a look at the comic, it's not good. And its ideological underpinnings are pretty apparent. But that's not always the case. One of the reasons it's crucial to work at our personal media literacy is because in the midst of the thousands of images and lines of text we engage with every day, so many pass into our consciousness without being questioned because they confirm our unconscious biases. When media critics ask us to be aware of how often we see white, cisgender, middle-class, straight men on our screens compared to literally any other identity, it's not just because we tell better stories when we're more inclusive. It's because with every white male hero we see, we unconsciously support and reproduce a system where we believe these are the stories that are most important and these are the people who are most important.
Think about what kind of message that sends every single person in society. Think about what it means for poor people to see themselves written out of every narrative except as objects of derision or trauma. Think about how that message is internalized by queer and trans kids of color who too rarely get to enjoy and learn from models for happy, healthy lives. Latinx people who are still way more likely to be background characters performing manual labor than tech geniuses or superheroes. Young Asian actors who are like, why should I even audition for this role? Scarlett Johansson's gonna get it.
Nothing is created or consumed in a cultural vacuum. Context is everything. It tells us to pay attention to the environment in which our media is created, an environment in which everyone is required to perform gender in predetermined ways, in which racial and ethnic minorities are sidelined or erased, or in which we're unwilling to talk about the working class unless they're white conservatives. When this is the world we live in, we must pay attention to how the media we enjoy both reflects and shapes that world. Hey, if you liked this video, maybe consider sharing it with some folks.